Good evening. Saturday night, and tomorrow is Palm Sunday. Incredibly great day to begin our whole Easter run all week long. And we really want to lift these services up for you. We are putting a lot into the next three services, which of course, Palm Sunday tomorrow, Good Friday service, and also on Easter Sunday morning. Lots of features we'll be bringing into some of these services. Do me a favor. Download the way you normally would to people. You got to watch this. And whether that's social media, phone, text, get the word out, please. Because these services, you know they're going to be good. You know they're going to be good. And I just really hope you'll partner, because there's an openness in people. Christians need encouragement, but boy, there's an openness in people also that need to come to faith in Christ. What a beautiful Easter opportunity we have. Don't think God is sitting on his hands during this time. Yeah. He's doing his work, and which is pretty awesome to think about. On Good Friday, we're are arranging private communions, small group things in here within the restrictions of these times, and we will be fulfilling all of those restrictions. If you have not yet booked your communion online, you can do so. You can phone the church to book a time for you, your family, to come in, and you will receive communion. We'll have pastors, myself, and others here with the distancing, ministering to you and your family in any way necessary in your time slot. So book your time, and we'll see you then. Now, we've been in Nehemiah. What a journey. This has been an amazing book to pull in at these times, talk about some of these principles that this guy exudes. But the section today is we're still in chapter 4, which is, it's so loaded with principles and plan building and all the great stuff that we need in these days. And so, Ange, you're going to read kind of 4 and 16 right through to the end, and this is the section we're on today.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to read right from the good book right now, and then we're going to unpack it. So chapter 4, verse 16, it says, But from then on, only half my men worked with the other half stood guard with spears, shields, bows, and coats of mail. The leaders stationed themselves behind the people of Judah who were building the wall. The laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting their load and one hand holding a weapon. All the builders had a sword belted to their side. The trumpeters stayed with me to sound the alarm. Then I explained to the nobles and officials and all the people, the work is very spread out and we are widely separated from each other along the wall. When you hear the blast of the trumpet, rush to wherever it is sounding. Then our God will fight for us. We worked early and late from sunrise to sunset, and half the men were always on guard. I also told everyone living outside the walls to stay in Jerusalem. That way they and their servants could help with guard duty at night and work during the day. During this time, none of us, not I, nor my relatives, nor my servants, nor the guards who were with me, ever took off our clothes. We carried our weapons with us at all times, even when we went for water.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a pretty exciting part in the story, eh?
This is.
Yeah, it's kind of all boiling down to this moment, I think. It's like you look at these guys, and from the beginning of the story, they were pretty broken down. I mean, no one even wanted to pick up the stones on the ground. And they needed someone to come and take over and tell them, let's get this thing done. And now it's close to its end. And you're just kind of seeing the us, like right at its top, right, firing at its max. And there is this real threat of the outside us, the evil side of it. And it's kind of firing on all cylinders too. And it's just all boiling down right at this moment to what's going to happen, who's going to pull out on top. So yeah,
it's got all the components of an amazing drama right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you got an enemy ready to attack you.
Yeah.
You got weakness within your ranks. They're tired. They've just won 2 battles. They built halfway. Yeah. They won the battle for the warfare plan because of God's wisdom, great leader, they were able to thwart the plans. And now they have to come up with a third plan. And in that third plan, what are we calling that plan?
The master plan.
It really is a master plan, though. I mean, we have a master, and it's his plan, but it's a master plan because it brings in all the components of challenge and then has a plan for each of those components.
Yeah.
And we see that here. And the one thing I'm noting in here is all of it, the big thing about this plan now, in the master plan, the roles have changed.
Yeah.
There's been this progression of role change for people.
Isn't that such a tough journey, hey, when we have to change the roles that we've become comfortable with? And they may not have been comfortable when we started. And, you know, when we look back on this journey of Nehemiah coming in, I mean, these people had been living amongst the rubble, and due to his great leadership, he had mobilized them to the point they're in now. But they've had to constantly adapt. And, you know, they may have become comfortable as builders, but then we went into this war plan, which changed things up. It changed their roles. And here we are again, changing roles.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's just the uncomfortable is like the new comfortable for these guys. Like
That's our new line.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just see like they're willing to do anything at this point. They know that like it has to get done. It can't just keep going on and on. Like they gotta. I think they at this point everyone knows that it's time to finish this, right?
Right. They're all bought in full-heartedly here because they know this is the window.
Yeah,
Yes.
It either happens or it doesn't happen at this point. Yeah.
And so we got to nail it now.
Yeah.
So everything is going in, everything they used to say, except the kitchen sink. Well, even the kitchen sink's
It's
going
probably
in.
built in the wall somewhere. Filling a hole.
Everything's in.
Yeah.
And they're going through this role change, and you bring up the discomfort. Role changes they go against our grain.
Yeah.
Anytime you and I get a role, we're always looking to make that role more comfortable, not less comfortable. At the beginning of every role change, everybody has a high discomfort.
Yeah.
And then we work at bringing comfort. That's kind of how we're wired. The problem with that is that if you don't understand that it has to transition and roles have to keep coming and you have to expand roles, create new roles, do things, and there's going to be called on you to do so, man, you're going to fight the best opportunities in life. In your business right now, your role may have changed. Where you before could kind of sit back a little hands off of some areas and just kind of let it happen, you might have to be more hands-on. That's a role change.
Yeah.
In home, you might have to be more hands-on in ways. Like it's a role change. You used to not even think about your finances. Now you got to really have a role change in there. All of this is discomfort.
Yeah.
And it goes against our grain. But you must understand, it's the window.
Yes.
You got to do it. And the vision has to drive you forward for what you want. And that's what's going on with this guy. He's got a God burden, and he's moving forward.
He never took his eyes off of that end goal, which was to rebuild this wall. That was the God burden. It wasn't guaranteed to be easy, and neither is our God burden. When we choose to carry a God burden, we're going to have opposition. So all these things are coming at him. He's had to adapt his plan and then bring it to the us. And all this time, he's had his eyes on this vision. And they're ramping the plan up now. Now they've gotten very strategic. Each different role needs to be filled for a reason in order to do the maximum amount of work, of good work, and still be protected to the maximum amount. So you see his really great, this leader's really great plan getting out to the us is really bought in and they're seeing it through. But all the while, he's got that end point in mind and he keeps bringing it back to that. So they've changed their plan, they're on plan number 3 now, and they need to bring it home because we're not meant to maintain that forever. This is meant to be a season. They're maxed out, but this is just a season.
And that's the way I think people are feeling, this is going to require all in. Your kitchen sink too. I mean, it's going to be all in. And that's tiresome because you're putting it all in. You can go on adrenaline. You can do a lot of things, but there's going to be a day that has to change. But right now, it is an all-in day, and I would just really encourage you to make sure that these 3 components are functioning well. That the us, this is where you concentrate. The us, having a great plan that would adjusting what you need to, and then being a great leader in your home or business or whatever you need to do. Take it on despite the discomfort and do so. But some of the roles, let's just talk specifically. So you got the guys hauling the material. Okay, they're getting from the roll piles, taking the best material, taking over to the builder who places it then in with the mortar in. So the guys that are hauling it, it's interesting. They have to choose the best stuff, clean it up. And while they're doing that, they have to have their sword drawn. So it's a one-handed job. So
Yeah.
one hand is carrying, one hand is got the sword drawn, not in the sheath, it's drawn.
Yeah, wearing two
And
hats.
yeah, like they're on first alert, right?
Yes.
Just bang, they're ready to go. That's a role change for them. I don't know about you, but I like to focus on building and building. You know, if you're doing war, you're doing war. But this is like, well, this
Not
is
an option
both.
anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get the guys that are placing the stone. There's a role change.
Yes.
And the role change is like they have their swords right here, ready to go. So they're taking this, and I guarantee you they're placing that stone, but their head's up.
That's right.
You know, their
Yeah.
eyes are watching everything, and there's a role change. There's a different level of discomfort that's come.
Yeah. They have to be really sharp. They have to sharpen their senses to be aware of what's to come, but also do a good job at the building, at what they're doing, or if they're hauling. And then we have Nehemiah, who has a trumpeter alongside him, and that is the form of communication that stays with the leader. And he says, if you hear the trumpet, you come to where I am. So he's roaming, he's keeping his eye on where he needs to be. He's overseeing the project, but he's also holding the key to communication, which I think is so important for a strong leader. You know, he's the one who has brought this plan to the people, and if he's not careful with the communication, he needs to be clear, positive, concise, encouraging, but realistic. And, you can't disperse this to a bunch of people. That needs to be with the person who has been given the God burden.
He really knew what to retain.
Yeah.
He knew he had to retain that centralization of communication, and he was the final line of using the resources effectively to build,
Yeah.
of using the resources effectively to protect.
Yes.
Yeah, this part actually almost seems backwards to me in a way, but it makes sense, I guess, because you see the guy at the front, the very frontmost of the line, is the guy that's got his sword drawn, that's putting the stones in place. Then it's followed by the guy with his sword out, right, handing the stones. Then the officer, and then finally Nehemiah, kind of the furthest back in the lines. And it almost seems weird, that the most vulnerable is at the very up frontmost, and then the most, head honcho kind of into the back. But when you start thinking about it, it almost makes sense, just because it's like every single person, just the trust you see in them, right? Every single person has the next person's back. He's watching for him almost in a sense, right? And that's where you see such a strong us, that you can turn your back to the enemy and your neighbor's got you, right?
And it really was that way. And that's what this compression is about. It's you are so leaning on each other in compression that any weak spots are going to really show up, right? And so on with it. But this is where the leader becomes the key component in that. And you're leading in your home. You're leading in this community in some way, shape, or form. And maybe you're in business leadership, ministry leadership. You need to know what to retain. You retain the communication. You retain it so that you can control the best and effective use of things. But you must understand, this is a compressed project, and you're in a season right now that's very compressed, and I know it's wearing you down, and I know it's hard, but you run on adrenaline. You got to do it. These guys, he even told them, you're going to sleep inside the walls. You're not. Don't go home at night. You're staying here. We have to guard. Two things: guard, and then we're building from daylight right through to the stars coming out, and then you're going to have to take guard shifts at night. It is that all-in component, but they have to be done. And you're going to see that they finished this wall in 52 days, which is absolutely stunning, just what they did and accomplished. But it happened because of these kinds of plans. So here's the deal. You need these things. You need the us, I, God burden, and us. You may need to come together, husband and wife, around the finances. Can't just be individual anymore. You got to get a God burden pulled together. You got to pull your family together. You got to pull together in these times and support each other. And then you've got to actually then move into good plans. Get the wisdom of God. And that's where you're going to lean into God and for his wisdom. And you get wisdom, you can have a plan that you can deal with whatever's going to come. God is always ahead, and he's going to lay after that. Then you've got that component of leadership. You got to be willing to actually pay the cost of leadership in these times, and to be smart and wise about it, but to always be sure that you are retaining what you need to and doing what you need to do, not doing the things you shouldn't be doing. Focus. God's going to help you get it done. God bless you. Have a great night. See you Easter tomorrow, Palm Sunday morning. Good evening, folks. Welcome again to a testimony segment. I've got a young man in here that I've watched since a kid. I've sat back and appreciated how this guy's put together since he was young. And this is Radek Haynes, and just thank you for showing up today.
Of course.
Okay? And being a part of this. And being willing to tell a little bit of your story.
Yeah.
Now, Radek, you have a very interesting story.
Yeah, for sure.
You been, I want to go back to, you're 16 now, 15 now?
16. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to go back to when you were 7. I think that was an interesting intersection in your life.
Yeah.
You were at one of our camps at Bear Lake.
Yeah.
Pastor Dave was leading it at that time. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Matt, going to camp at that young age and camp through my teenage years as well, it's every time we go there, we are expected to just have this whole immersion into Christianity and just be so fulfilled by the end of it, right? And me being a super high energy kid, I was able to absorb all of that and really learn and fall in love with God, right? And going to that every year and going to church with Dave, I've really just learned as much as I could, and I took as much as I could.
It was like such a simple time in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Because life seemed pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
God was good. Things around you were good in that regards.
Mm-hmm.
And but then things kind of shifted and got more complex for you.
For sure. Yeah, going through junior high years, it just became, I became very lonely and very anxious and very fearful, just in general of life itself, right? And being able to work through that spiritually over the years with my help from mentorship and therapy as well, just being able to work through everything that's in my life and figure out what works best for me and how I can become my best self really helped with that.
Which now plays into the faith.
Yeah.
And your journey with Christ.
Yeah.
What was one simple kind of, how does this fit kind of a season? But in the last couple of years, there's been kind of another new elevation of faith in your life.
For sure. Being able to pull myself out of that pit that I was in and really see the horizon really has made me overjoyed and so grateful for the life I live today. Being able to see the good in absolutely everyone and the good in every situation, right? And seeing when I wake up, what can I do today, right? What can I do for my faith? What can I do for someone else's faith, right? And being able to have that mindset now is so amazing.
And the feeling has changed for you. What used to be kind of that anxiety, strong insecurity, fear, where that played out in that season in a way in which whoever you were with, you would maximize the part that you knew kind of fit with them, and minimize the other parts.
Exactly.
Is that sort of how the math worked?
Yeah, that's exactly how I went with all my friends. I would maximize everything that they liked and they enjoyed, and I would completely get rid of everything that I didn't like, so I would make everyone around me happy type thing.
Yeah.
Right? And now, just today and recently, I've really just been doing me, like what makes me happy, what is the best that Radek can do, and really embracing who I am as a person, who I am as a Christian, and not halting any of my Christian talk, any of just my day-to-day talk. I am who I am, and the people around me love that, right?
So you've got people that really love that, but I think you've got another crowd there.
Of course. Yeah, I've, over the years and just recently especially, just becoming who I am and not holding back anything anymore in terms of my faith and in terms of what I talk about. I am being me, and some people don't like certain parts of me, and that's okay, and they end up leaving, or they end up just moving away, or we don't talk as much, right? But the people who are with me and decide to come and be friends with me or come and listen to what I have to say, and the people who have stayed throughout the years are the strongest relationships I have today.
So what this is partly like is that although there's been this relational trauma, before it might have almost been more relational trauma because you couldn't show up.
Yeah, and now that I have all of that energy to give out to other people in just what I have to say or what I'm doing, and just my energy as a person, just talking to someone, I can give so much more to them, right? And to our relationship, just because I'm not wasting it on becoming someone else, acting through it. And I'm just going into a conversation now. I have no thoughts. Should I say this? Should I say this? Even talking with you, I'm just going to be me, because that's just who I am now, right? And whatever comes out of it, comes out of it.
That's really cool. So what's happening in your relationships is they're getting deeper. You may have lost some breadth in it, but
Of course.
they're getting deeper.
Yeah.
And you can be comfortable with you in that, and out of that comes, I'm sure, a different sense of peace.
Yeah, for sure. Peace of mind is something that I've come to learn and to really embrace and be very thankful for. Having that sense of clarity every day. Of course, there's highs and lows, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm able to walk with my head held high through my schools and through my church, through my youth group, and just be able to take whatever comes at me, right?
Well, man, we are so glad you're part of this place, because that kind of authenticity is the magic for the witness and the worship of Christ.
Yeah.
Just a little sideline. You're a passionate guy, but music's your deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you introduce the instrument? I mean, you play a certain instrument.
It's not a common instrument for sure. Anyone in band knows it, but anyone out of band, not really. I play a euphonium, and it's basically the best way to visualize it is you have a tuba, right? All the tubing and the big bell and the mouthpiece, right? And you take that and you shrink it to about 1/3 of the size, and you add a valve. So I have 4 that I play with, right? It's basically what it looks like, but it's very sweet toned. It's just, I'm in love with it so much, right? The sound that comes out of it is me, right? It's my personality, it's my sound, right? And it's just, I have such a one-on-one connection with my instrument and the sound I play and the music I play. And it's just, it keeps me going throughout the day, you know.
And obviously God has made you a deeply artistic soul. Mm-hmm. So let's look for him playing the euphonium.
Yes.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Wow. I can't believe I got that.
Me neither.
Radek, thanks for joining me today.
Of course.
It's just my privilege to be with you today.
Thank you.
And thanks for your story. Have a good evening. Enjoy the next segment.
Side of the road, hear you speak and won't let go. Fall to my knees as I lift my hands to pray. Got every reason to be here again. Father's love that draws me in, and all my eyes want to see is a glimpse of you. All I need is you. Savior once again. Where would my soul be without your Son, who gave his life to save the earth? Rest in the thought that you're watching over me. All I need is you. All I need is you, Lord. You, Lord.
welcome to the prayer segment. We're looking at prayer. Listen to this. Jesus says this in the Sermon on the Mount about prayer. He says, and when you come before God, don't turn that into a theatrical production either. All these people making a regular show out of their prayers, hoping for stardom. Do you think God sits in a box seat? I love the picture. You've seen the old theaters, box seats up here, they're on the stage, and it's sort of this idea that God would be here just kind of watching you and enjoying your theatrical performance in prayer. See, sometimes we treat prayer like a performance, and it's nothing like that. In fact, let me use a word to try and drive this home a little bit. When you want to pray, you want to get naked before God. You see, he's talking, Jesus is here, and another verse in here. Don't be like the hypocrites that stand on the street corners, is another version, and does it so that others will see. He says, you've already got their award. They got the applause. Don't treat like prayer that way, like I'm here performing and God is watching my performance. Be naked. You'll never stand on a street corner naked. That might be theatrical, but you'll never do it. I hope you wouldn't. But in your closet, be naked with God. You might want to do a little prayer exercise, even with whoever you're watching this broadcast with, if you are. And that is to, in the most basic, simplest of terms, how would you express your need? Instead of trying to go through all of a bunch of words, how would you condense that and get the most vulnerable, the most naked about your need? God, I really need encouragement. I'm discouraged. God, we need financial wisdom and help. God, I need strength right now. God, I want patience. God, I'm very angry. I need help with it. God, what's the blank? What is a blank for the Father prayer that instead of all of the other stuff that sometimes we throw in, we don't have to twist his arm. Can you imagine your kids coming to you? Well, maybe they do. And they're constantly twisting your arm. You don't like it. Tell me what you want. Then take the yes, no, or wait. Get simple with God in prayer. You will find yourself more and more having a heart experience, not a street corner experience or a stage experience. It's a heart experience. And that's where the nakedness comes from. Here's what I really need, God. Here's what I really want. God, you're awesome. God, you're great. I love that you love me. God, we need help. We need help financially. We need help with our health. We need help with our attitude. We need help with our marriage. We need help. We need help. That's praying. And that's the kind that you're going to find him respond to. Because he says, you do that, I'm going to hear, I'll reward. Have a great evening. Enjoy the next segment with Pastor Angela as she closes out tonight.
Hey kiddos, welcome back to Kids Korner. You got Pastor Angela here with another science segment for you. So before you get started, make sure and ask your parents for permission. All right, tonight we are going to make our own at-home rainbow scratch paper. So maybe you've seen this stuff out there where it's all black and then you take a toothpick or a chopstick and you start scratching away at the black and some nice colors come through underneath. Well, we can make that from scratch at home. So you just need a few simple ingredients. You need some laundry detergent, some black tempera paint, you need a piece of cardstock and some crayons, something to paint the black on with, and a popsicle stick for mixing. So with the black paint, you're going to mix it into the liquid dish detergent, and you're going to do equal parts. So here I've got about a teaspoon of liquid dish detergent, laundry detergent, and I'm going to mix my paint in with that. And then I'm going to give it a good little stir. There you have it. Doesn't take too long to pull that together. Then on your cardstock, you can use any color crayons you want. I like some brighter colors here. I chose purple, pink, blue, and you're just going to start coloring in your cardstock. So you don't want any white showing. You just color all the way through it. You can do all one color, you can do a rainbow effect, whatever you like. Once you've got your cardstock colored with wax crayon, you're going to put some of your paint and detergent mixture on it, and then you're going to use your brush just to paint all the way across it. And you want it completely covered. Might be a little bit messy, that's why I've got a tray down. All right, so now that it's completely covered, I'm going to just set it off to the side and let it dry completely. But when it is dry, you're going to have something that looks like this, which is kind of plain and boring, but you can get a toothpick and just start drawing whatever kind of designs you like on it. I did a sun, which is a little hard to see here, and a smiley face, but you can get creative and make some pretty cool things. We made bookmarks with it. We've made posters for our bedroom doors. It's lots of fun. So I hope you'll try this yourself at home. And until next time, love God and love others.